Elise Makola was just 17 years old, all alone and terrified when she first arrived in Canada 5 years ago to claim refugee status. The violent turmoil in the Democratic Republic of the Congo split her family and sent the teenager fleeing to Zambia and eventually onto a flight to Toronto. She arrived as an unaccompanied minor seeking asylum. Makola spoke several languages, including Swahili and French, but not a word of English.
It was a very, very dark moment for me. It was just out of this, I was just trying to understand what was going on around me.
After 2 days in detention, officials sent her to a refugee shelter for minors and youth. Makola remembers the woman who welcomed her at the door to Matthew House.
When I rang the bell, and then it was Hen. And then she was having this big smile. That was the first time I see a person with a big smile, because I'm a person of big smile too. I know how it feels like to see somebody with a big smile. So I was like, oh, okay, I love this place.
The smiling figure at the door was longtime refugee settlement worker Ann Woolger, who founded Matthew House 20 years ago to help unsponsored refugee claimants. It was the increasing number of unaccompanied minors among those refugee claimants showing up at Canada's borders that led her to open this group home just for youth 10 years ago, and then another last year.
Well, over the years, as we were receiving the refugee claimants, we recognized that some of them, they were 15, 16, 17 years old by themselves with no parents. And we hated to have them just move into rooming houses and with people they didn't know.
She says the houses are not just shelters, but meant to provide young people split from their loved ones with the closest thing to a home and a family. That's what Nuruddin Ibrahim has found here. He originally ended up in a Toronto homeless shelter when he first arrived in Canada from Ethiopia 2 years ago.
Somewhere where the people sleep together, drug addicted people. A very difficult place.
A shelter worker, seeing how young and vulnerable Ibrahim was, gave him the number for Matthew House, where he is still living today.
I don't have enough word to thank them for real, because for the first time I didn't see the benefit of being in here, but the more I stay, the more I see everything.
Get your ID and
Khalid Siddiqui also finished high school, found a job, and has now left Matthew House to live in an apartment with roommates. He says none of it would have been possible without the help and guidance of Matthew House staff and the friendships he made with other youth. He returns to visit and help out regularly. When Siddiqui arrived from Afghanistan on his own 3 years ago, he saw North America through the eyes of an inexperienced teenager.
My view was from a guy who came from Afghanistan. I thought everything is peaceful and perfect in Western countries, but if you look at, and it's not just safe, at 17 years old.
Over the past decade, the 24 spaces Matthew House is dedicated to unaccompanied minors have played host to a growing group of young people, many of whom see themselves as adopted siblings, something Woolger says can be replicated elsewhere in Canada. In the meantime, she's finding ways to help more young refugee claimants.
And so sometimes we can even send someone temporarily to someone's house. So there is kind of a growing network, and that's certainly my vision. I'd love to open more homes like this.
Elise Makola is studying building sciences at a Toronto college and working part-time.
Oh, my sister and my niece, Jemima.
So cute.
Yeah, and that is me.
But longing to help the family she left behind. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.